In today's episode of the podcast, I'm sharing with you some slow progress I've made on projects that I love, plus one project I just started and I'm so excited to share with you. So if that sounds like just your cozy cup of tea, get comfy and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. My name is Taylor, and I will be your host. I'm really excited to meet with you guys today. It has been a week since I last posted a podcast, actually a week and a day. I went on a vacation with my family, not last week, but the prior, we took a red-eye flight Wednesday night into Massachusetts and we were there for 5 days and then we got back and then it was the Halloween craze and rush and here we are now ready to have a podcast and it feels so good to be back with you guys today. I have some things I want to share with you, some things I've been working on. My progress, my knitting has been slow, which is why I am drinking out of my Sloth Knitter mug. You can find Sloth Knitter mugs in the Wool Needles Hands merch shop, which is now nested cozily at the Fiber for the People shop, which is my hand-dyed yarn business. Everything that I do is all nested at fiberforthepeople.com in its own separate tabs and all of that. Just it keeps it all in one place. Having two separate websites, but one for Fiber for the People and one for Wool Needles Hands was becoming very cumbersome and expensive for what it was, because they were pretty pricey websites. And so I'm keeping all of it over at fiberforthepeople.com. There is a separate section for all things Wool Needles Hands. So you can access the merch and all of the tip line and everything like that over there, but the direct links will be down below in the description box. It's been nice taking a little bit of a break. I feel like there was a point there towards the end, well, it's not even the end of summer, but I feel like the end of September where I really needed to have a minute to just kind of clear the mechanism. I do this occasionally. Lots of ideas and things circulate around up here and then everything kind of just pauses, almost like I'm in a moment of like fatigue, of decision fatigue, idea fatigue, and I need to just, regroup a little bit. And taking this trip to Massachusetts was a great way to do that with the family. We had a fantastic time. We were there at the tail end of October, right before Halloween. The leaves were gorgeous. The foliage was like prime autumn foliage. The weather was fantastic and the place that we stayed was beautiful. We actually visited a place called in the, I don't know, is it like North Shore, Massachusetts, or like the northern coast of Massachusetts, Rockport and the Rockport Harbor, We stayed at an Airbnb on Bearskin Neck in the Rockport Harbor, and I can't even tell you, it was so awesome. And just what we needed as a family. It was so great. We pulled the kids out of school and we took them and we traveled and we did all kinds of things. And it was so great and therapeutic and I loved it. I'm happy to be back. I had a fantastic time. But today's just going to be me getting my feet wet, sharing, getting back at it with you guys, sharing some of the things I've been working on. And yes, like my mug says here, I have been quite a sloth knitter. I've been knitting, but kind of slowly. Progress on my projects has been slow and I'm okay with that. I feel like things are finally getting chilly here where I live in southern Nevada. Everything's starting to feel more cozy. Everything's starting to feel a little bit slower paced now that October is finally over. There's something about October that it is wild. And I'm involved in the PTA. I know you guys who've been here for a while and hear me talk about this from time to time, the PTA, and it gets busy and all of this, but it's true. Okay. Like I can't deny the fact that it's true. When you're a PTA parent and you're very active in your kid's school, like it happens. And October is one of those months where it really happens. But thankfully, it's chilly because I can wear sweaters. And today, if you know anything about anything here at Wool Needles Hands, you may know what this sweater is. This is the Frankensweater. This is a pattern by yours truly. It's available on Ravelry. I'll link to it down below. When I first started making this sweater, it was an improvised sweater. And there's a series of videos where I talk about the process of creating this sweater. And I call those videos the Franken saga, because it was quite a saga and a learning experience to kind of improvise this pattern. I'm looking at it over here on the screen. I absolutely love this sweater. It gives like the greatest cozy vibes while also having this like Audrey Hepburn kind of vibe with the open neckline. It comes in two versions. I took it with me, the other version with the split hem I took with me when we were in Massachusetts, and I wore that a lot and it was super cozy. Yeah, check it out. Frankensweater, love it. It knits up. This is knit with Lion Brand Fisherman's wool held double with a skein of undyed Surrey silk yarn, which is a kind of like a light fingering weight yarn that I held with the Fisherman's wool to give it almost a light, chunky overall weight. I absolutely love it. It's just so cute. I mean, come on. Yeah. Self-promotion happening here, guys. I mean, you're going to have to get used to it with today's episode because we're talking about Fiber for the People yarn. We're talking about this Frankensweater pattern, the sloth mug. I got another thing going on. Listen, if you don't like that, I don't really know what to tell you. I don't take sponsors, okay? I'm sponsored. This is brought to you by the folks over on Patreon and myself, and I kind of like it that way. So hopefully you do too. However, if it's not your thing, if you don't want to listen to me talk about things I've created and put out into the world, bye? I don't know. So let's go ahead and get into it because I have things I want to share. And I want to start with this one over here because it's been a while since I've shared this with you. This, come on over, Gladys. Let's get in here. This is my Flea Sweater. I kind of want to take it off of the mannequin just so I can show you a little better. This is my Flea Sweater. It is, oh my Lord, it's been so long that I've talked about this that I'm drawing a blank. Dun, 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 dun. I want to say it's, yeah, Anna and Heidi Pickles. I already had it in my head. I don't know why. Okay, this is a design by Anna and Heidi Pickles. I love the concept for this design. It is a top-down raglan crew neck sweater with this really awesome striping color work motif. Okay, I'm going to pull it off in a minute so you can get a closer look at what's happening here. I want to mention here, and this is important because, yeah, come on over, Gladys. My Flea Sweater is different from the one in the pattern in that I did a rolled over collar. I doubled it and I rolled it over and tacked it down. I think that's different. I don't think they do that in the original. And then I added short rows. I'm taking it off finally. It's just, sorry, Gladys, I can't. I got to be able to talk about this a little bit better. You go ahead and you just go over there. There were things that I wanted to do differently here because I didn't love the way the sweater looked on the model with its reversible neckline, meaning that there was no shaping happening on the neck. The height of the front of the neck was the same as the height of the back of the neck, which gives it a strange, it kind of sits up against, like, it kind of sits up like this, if you will, and I didn't like that. And so I wanted to add short rows to my neck, and I did that. You can kind of see, I used this main brown color here to add the short rows. You can see that there is more fabric in the back in that color than there is in the front. And that's because I was adding more fabric back there to give it a little bit of an offset. I'm holding this cockeyed, so you'll have to excuse me. I think it's because I've already started a row or a round over here. But that was something that I did differently. I talked about that on a previous episode where I introduced my project here, but I'm really happy I did that. If you would like to know how to add short rows to a garment, I'll link to a really great video. However, what I did here is I just used kind of a formula that I use for short rows. It's a little bit pulled from the Felix sweater, but then modified to adapt it to my Frankensweater pattern. And then it's just kind of become my formula for short rows on any top-down raglan sweater which I think might need short rows. So it's just kind of what I do. You can develop your own, but I would definitely recommend looking up how to add short rows to the neck of a sweater or, something along those lines. But I'll link to a video down below for you if that's something that would appeal to you, because I do think that when you come across a sweater that doesn't come with short rows built into it, you really might want to consider adding them. And I'm going to link to another video. I have a whole video on why that is the case and why you want neck shaping. And I'll link to that down below because it's very helpful if this is a new concept to you. But I added that here. I doubled over the neckline, and then I just carried on with the color work pattern as prescribed in the pattern. And look how gorgeous this is. I used Fiber for the People yarn. This is the Born Shorn, I'm going to get it to focus. This is the Born Shorn and Dyed collection of yarns. This is a 100% Nevada born and raised Merino Rambouillet cross yarn. I sourced this yarn from the Dufferina Ranch up in northern Nevada. These are fantastic, fabulous people, and their sheep are beautiful sheep, mountain raised and reared and just everything in northern Nevada, and I love that. And they create such a gorgeous fleece. And the yarn is rustic, but soft, and it wears so well. And the more that you wear the yarn, the softer it gets, and it's absolutely lovely. So that's what I'm using to knit this in all Fiber for the People colors. I did not dye these colors specifically for this project. I kind of just dug around in my stash and pulled out Born Shorn dyed yarn from my personal stash in colors that I felt lined up well, that I felt looked like what was provided in the image of the Flea sweater on the man. It kind of is inspired by that color scheme because I thought it was so punchy and contrasty and I loved it. And I wanted to create my own kind of color combination like that. So I did that here. I actually did end up dyeing a collection of yarn for the shop that was supposed to align with this, and it came pretty darn close. But that's what this is. So this is my Flea sweater. I'm crazy about this pattern. I really love working on this sweater. It's taking me some time. It's a sport weight sweater. This is a sport weight yarn. Yeah, but still. And also too, like, look at this. I haven't been weaving in the ends as I go, and I'm certainly not going to braid my ends just because I didn't really love that strategy all that much. So I have a ton of ends to weave in, but it's fine. You know what? It's fine. We live with it. It's going to be fine. So yeah, I'm going to put this back on Gladys because I kind of want you to be able to see it because it's pretty. So let's pop this back on Gladys here. There you go, sweet cheeks. Look at you, all dressed up with nowhere to go. She's not wearing any pants. Not like I'm too concerned about that. She doesn't mind. She's a hussy. Okay, besides my fleece sweater and my Mexican blanket, which I just recently finished, we're getting real cozy. Let's move the chair out of the way. Let's really just illustrate how cozy this guy is. I really haven't been working on much else. And while we were in Massachusetts, I took some of my knitwear pieces. I took my Frankensweater, not this version, the other version. But something else I did take was this hat. This is a hat that I knit a little bit less than a year ago. It is a basic hat, okay? It's just a hat. It's a cap, right? It's almost like a watch cap, but it sits on your head a little taller. It has a little bit of a slouch. I'll pop it on for you so you can see it. But I wore this a lot. You know what? I'm not going to do that. Here's a picture of me wearing it. I really don't feel like messing up the hair right at the moment, if you'll pardon me. But you can see it right here. It is this hat. I absolutely love this hat. It's knit in the same yarn. This is Fiber for the People, born, shorn, and dyed. It is so soft and scrummy. You can kind of see how the yarn has like a really lovely soft look. What I love about this is, okay, so it's Merino Rambouillet Cross, okay? It's a merino yarn for all intents and purposes. It does, the fiber kind of lifts from the yarn as it wears and kind of fulls a little bit. So you do get that halo of, you know, where you can see like the fibers lifting away, but there's no pilling happening here, which makes me really happy. You could see where maybe, you know, it could start to pill, I guess, but I have worn the dickens out of this thing and there are no pills on it. It just, well, nope, I take that back. There's like 2 right there for all transparency purposes. Yeah, there are 2 pills right there. But I wear this, I pack it, I throw it in my bag. It just gets really beat up. You know, like, not beat up, but you know what I mean. And it's so soft and lovely with no pilling happening here. And I think it's fantastic. I love this hat. I knit this hat using a formula kind of, I stuck pretty true to the formula by Barbara Walker in her Knitting from the Top book. This hat was knit from the top down or from the crown down. So I did not start at the brim of this hat casting on and ribbing. I actually started at the top, and I'll show you a picture. Why am I turning it that way? I'll show you a picture of me knitting this and you can tell that it's being worked from the crown down. And I loved knitting this hat that way because not only is it nice to kind of just start knitting and not have to worry about ribbing, you can cast on your stitches and start working your crown and you can see what kind of gauge you're getting as you're doing that. This kind of works a little bit like a gauge swatch and you're widening it as you go and you can kind of say, okay, well, I get to a certain point as I'm increasing my crown where I can see that I'm getting 5 stitches to the inch. I know that I need my hat to knit to a circumference of 19 inches. So I do 5 times 19 and then what is that, 595? So that would be 95 stitches. I need to get my crown to 95 stitches and that would be the diameter or the circumference of the hat that I need. So it kind of gives you your swatch as you go. Now, I think that could be, I don't know. I almost kind of feel like that's a really great way to do it because it's not going to lie to you because it is the project. Okay. And because it's a hat, you can try it on as you go, which is great about things that are knit top down like this, is you can try them on as you go. So I really loved knitting this hat. Kind of a totally improvised, but well, improvised to the point that I just kind of cast it on and started going. And then as I got down to this point, I made the decision to knit a 1-inch brim. I mean, it's not like it's super intricate, okay? It's easy to improvise something like this, but it was a fantastic hat, and I wear this all the time because I love the way that it feels. I love the way that it looks. I love the color. And so I thought, why not do another one of these, but use it as a canvas for a color work motif? That could be interesting. And so I got inspired to do that. I had this skein of worn, shorn, and dyed yarn in this really lovely pine green color. And I fell in love with the mosaic knitting motif on my Mexican blanket by Two of Wands by Alexandra Tavel. So this is a picture of my Mexican blanket. You can watch the last episode and see this blanket there, live and in color. But the motif on this, the cool color work, kind of chevron looking lozenge motif or whatever, that is done using mosaic knitting. Now, before I had done mosaic knitting, I thought it was going to be this kind of like new, complicated thing that I didn't know if I wanted to get involved in. You know, that's not the right mindset, but it was one of those things. Well, when I started knitting the blanket and got to the point where I needed to do this mosaic knitting, I dove right in, and it was so much fun. I can't even tell you. If you've been putting off mosaic knitting, stop, do something with some mosaic knitting, have fun with it because it's a lot of fun. Well, after having done that, and wanting to have another one of these hats, I thought, well, why not throw something similar, mosaic knitting wise, on this hat as like a blank canvas and have some fun with that. And I spilt tea on myself in my enthusiasm. And that's exactly what I did. So here, same concept of my hat. I started from the crown and I worked my way down. And then I got to a certain point on the body of the hat and I added a diamond shape mosaic knitting pattern inspired by the one that Alexandra Tavel has in the Mexican blanket because I absolutely loved it. Can I just tell you, I have tea. Sorry. Okay. I love mosaic knitting for color work. Not that I think that it's better or that regular color work, stranded color work is worse. This is just so fun. Okay. The mosaic knitting that's happening here, this section here, the color work that you see, is so enjoyable to knit that I wanted to share with you kind of what it looks like. I have my camera set up right above me here, and I'm just going to work on it a little bit because I worked my way to that point, right at that point where I need to start doing the mosaic section, and I stopped so that I could show you how lovely it is to work that. So I am going to put my blanket down in front of me here and get my pattern going and just kind of show you. That's it. It's just going to be pretty plain and simple and do a little knitting for you so you can see what that looks like. It has a really cool hand woven look about it. It's a little bit more gappy. There's a little bit more of like a holiness to it. It's not as dense as stranded color work, but it's gorgeous. It's got these Southwestern vibes that I'm crazy about. This is a combination of, like I said, this pine color and then just the undyed yarn here. And then I'm adding, because I couldn't help myself, a really fun Latvian braid right here before I start ribbing. So what's happening right now is I'm now down to the ribbing portion of the hat. And I'm going to rib just like I did here with a nice 1-inch tightly ribbed brim like that. And that will complete this. So improvised. I kind of came up with this as I was going. I wasn't really sure what color work motif I was going to use. I loved the diamond look of the one on the Mexican blanket, so I kind of just did something like that. And then because of its placement on the body of the hat, I felt like if I just went straight to, you know, all green and then the brim, it just needed something else. I needed to bring that undyed color in. And so that was where I decided to add the Latvian braid. Okay. I've mentioned two different techniques here, mosaic knitting and a Latvian braid. The Latvian braid is time consuming. It's not difficult. Okay. It's worth it. If you want to add a little pop of color to the bottom of the hat or something, socks, the cuff of a sleeve, right before you do your ribbing, it's a fantastic way to do that. Go up a needle size. It does tend to tighten up a little bit. So and that's what I've done here. I've not only gone up a needle size with my Latvian braid, but also with my, color work here. I talk about why on the previous episode as it relates to my Mexican blanket, but it's, other than being time consuming, it's really worth the effort and it's fun. I like it. I think it's fun. Yeah, so that's what I started this, no joke. I started this not yesterday, but the night before. And then I worked on it a little bit yesterday and I'm almost done. I'm just doing the ribbing, and this is a sport weight yarn. But how pretty is that? How pretty. What is it even focusing on here? Focus on the hat. That's the important part. So cool. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Let me know what you think. Do you like this? I was thinking if y'all liked it, I would love to do another hat pattern. And I would love to do a little bit of a video over on Patreon where I talk a little bit about each of the techniques used here, maybe some tutorials, maybe some, I don't know, but it's something that goes in a little bit deeper with this pattern. But I love this. I think it's a lot of fun. I think what it is that I would like to do is maybe a little series of videos or a video on knitting the crown down hat as a blank canvas, what you can do to come up with your own mosaic knitting motif that you could slap on there and make it your own. That means working with stitch counts, kind of multiples, whatever the multiple is that you would need to use to create your mosaic knitting motif, some apps that I've discovered and websites that I've discovered that can help you generate a mosaic knitting motif, and then also talking about alternatives for a Latvian braid. So these are some things as I was working on this that I thought would be fun to share with you guys over on the Patreon, as it's a little bit more of a deep dive, and it might even be kind of a series thing where we start with one thing at a time. But definitely talking about why I love these top crown down, I guess you could say, hats, because it's just so fun to knit. And you can knit essentially any hat from the crown down. It's just reversing the pattern, if you will, and starting with casting on fewer stitches and increasing as opposed to casting on more stitches and then decreasing. So loving that. Definitely check out Barbara Walker's book, Knitting from the Top. I do have a video where I talk more about that, and I can link to that video down below as well. Lots of things to go watch. It's like I'm giving you like homework to view here. But yeah, so that's what I've been working on. I'm super excited about this. I'm going to finish this puppy tonight because I would like to wear it in the upcoming days as it's starting to get really chilly. The last thing I wanted to mention to you here is that there is going to be a shop update for Fiber for the People, which is my hand-dyed yarn business, and that is coming your way on Saturday, November 9th. I will have 5 colorways coming to the shop, and the ones that I have to show you here, I'm showing on the Surrey Silky base. This is a 70/30 Surrey alpaca, baby Surrey alpaca in silk, light fingering weight yarn. This is one that you'll commonly see paired with other yarns to give it that nice floofy look. It's the same yarn that I used to knit my Frankensweater, except this yarn was undyed and these are obviously dyed. The colorways that I have here are inspired by minerals and gemstones. We have lapis. This is a little bit more of almost like an indigo lapis. Lapis can tend to be a little bit more of a cobalt color, but sometimes you can see lapis that is more of a fair, almost has a little bit of a green tinge to it. So this is going to be lapis. Then we have malachite. Wow, it's really blowing out. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? And then we have agate. How pretty. And then this is amber, because I couldn't resist. And this is amethyst. This color here kind of reminds me of the inside of a geode, which is where, that kind of came from. So we have amethyst here, which I don't know. Maybe I should change that to geode. I don't know. Be sure to sign up for the FFTP newsletter. I'll put a link down for the newsletter down below. Sign up for that. That's where I post all of my information about my shop updates. It is always shared. It will be shared here on the channel, or it will be shared via newsletter first. Most of the time, it is shared via newsletter first. Most of the time. It's never shared on Instagram first. So one of these two places, but definitely sign up for the newsletter, because there are a lot of times where I don't share it here on the channel. And the only way you know about the shop updates are via newsletter. So definitely check that out. But these are the colors coming to the shop. I will be also dyeing this on a gorgeous 100% super fine merino, untreated, non-superwash sport weight yarn. And that is coming. So you're going to want to check the newsletter for photos of that when I finish. Those are out there drying right now, so they're not ready to be photographed, but that is coming soon. So that is coming up on the 9th of November, Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I'm excited about that. In the meantime, I'm going to get busy working on this hat. I'm so excited to be back putting videos out for you guys. It's a lot of fun. It felt good to take a little bit of a break, so thank you for your patience. Also, if you're into reading and you like listening to people talk about books, definitely check out Good Books Lately. It is the channel that my husband and I host, where we talk about things that we've been reading. We took a break from that too as we worked our way through October, trying to just stay on track. But those videos are coming back this week, and we're excited to share because we have both finished a couple of books. My husband's finished more than me, but we are excited to chat with you guys about that. So check out that. I'll link to it down below. In the meantime, happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Take care, be well, and I will see you soon. Bye.